Hi gardeners! So today I'm out here in our greenhouse and we have a lot of things in here that I'm going to be keeping over the winter that will grow over the winter to be harvested, like these leafy greens during the winter months, or things like garlic that we will be harvesting in the fall or early summer of next year. So I wanted to talk a little bit today about frost protection. This has been something that's been on a lot of people's mind lately because we've had our first close to frost or frosty days here in northeastern Oklahoma. Wherever you're at, if you want to save plants before the first frost, or if you want to continue to keep plants going after we have cold nights settling in, then you're going to need some kind of frost protection. So here in our greenhouse, we obviously have one layer of protection with the greenhouse itself. This guy has windows to vent it out. I've actually had the front of it open today because we've had a day in the 70s. You don't want your plants to get too hot. But this is perfect because it's going to keep all of the ground temperature in here a little bit warmer. Each layer of frost protection that you have is going to keep your plants anywhere from 5 to 10 degrees warmer. That's important to know because based on different types of frost protection, you're going to get more protection against the cold. Or you can also layer if you think that you're going to get down below freezing, even with one layer of frost cloth. So I have an example here. Our beds are already in our greenhouse, so that's say 5 degrees of keeping our plants warmer, which means that about down to 27 degrees, our plants should have some protection. If it gets colder, and it definitely will here in Tulsa, there's a couple things that you can do. We have here at the end some frost cloth, and I actually had this guy up and just took it down because since it is warmer out, I didn't want my plants to fry under there. And they also get more sunlight if they're uncovered. You can see here, this frost cloth will just fit over these hoops like so. Now there's a couple different ways you can secure your cloth once it's up here. At the ends, if I was keeping this in place, I would just tuck these down. We're in a greenhouse, so this guy's not going to get much wind, so I don't need to worry too much about that. But to keep it in place, especially outdoors, I use these landscape fabric pins. You can pin that right into the ground there. You can also use rocks or any other kind of weight that will kind of help your frost cloth stay in place. Another option, if we're getting really cold, so say now we have 2 layers, we're down to about 22 degrees, say we're getting a little bit colder than that, say we're getting 17 or 18. What I can then do is take this layer of cloth here, put it down over my plants like this, and tuck it in around the edges. So once this is all tucked in, then I can put another piece on top of these hoops. That's going to give me 1 layer on the ground, 1 layer on the hoops. If it gets even colder than that, I have my trellises up here. I can drape a piece of cloth over the trellis down onto the ground here. So that all in all is going to give us approximately 20 degrees of frost protection, depending on what type of protection you're using. This is excellent because we do get some really cool weather here in Oklahoma. The other nice thing is when you have a greenhouse or an environment like this, it's going to keep all of the grass here warmer as well. So that way you're going to naturally get that ambient heat that's really going to build up. I love frost protection. I love growing all year. So if it's something you're interested in, definitely keep different types of frost protection in mind. You can use this cloth, sometimes called garden fleece. You can also use old sheets. Those work great. You can use plastics. Those tend to not work quite as well in my experience, but lots of different options, especially if you're just wanting to get those tomato plants through a few of those first frosts. These nice pieces of cloth are really easy.